right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Isaiah Grant, who is on the other side in Tampa, Florida. How are you doing, Isaiah?
Man, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. Super excited to be here today.
Yeah, and Isaiah helps coaches, consultants, and agency owners increase take home profit by 20K a month and free 20 hours or 20 less hours in 20 less hours per week, which is what we're going to talk about today. So, how do you build, how do you build profitable businesses, and how do you do that in such a way that instead of increasing the amount of time it takes, it actually frees up time for you to maybe do other things or or focus on other things. So Isaiah, for a start, why are you so confident that you could find, forget the 20 grand for a
Yeah.
second, even the 20 hours with
Yeah.
most small business owners?
Absolutely. So why am I so confident in doing that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll tell you this here. About 10 years ago, I was, freshly into college,
Hmm.
trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And essentially, I started my own company. And fast forward, that company has helped hundreds of business owners like yourself actually add 100 million in sales across the last 10 years. I'll share with you this, four simple steps.
Hmm.
We use something called the flow method, right? So we want to live in flow versus
Hmm.
living in fear.
Right.
And I'll get into how that process works. But essentially, I knew I could not work in corporate for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And so as I was working in corporate for about 8 years, from the age of, 17 years old to about 25 years old, I built this business. At the age of 25, I was no longer passionate about working in corporate America. So I left that job and went all into my business. And so this is why, I do what I do is to help people stuck on the 9 to 5 rat race get out of their day job and learn how to produce sales, whether it's in a
Hmm.
coaching business, a brick and mortar, or online coaching company in general.
Yeah. So where does the flow method come from?
Yeah, so it actually came from, when I was roughly about 27 years old,
Hmm.
I hit a burnout in my life. And so literally close to COVID timeframe, I had all these clients, making about $100,000 a month here in sales, doing pretty well. And essentially I hit a burnout. I was doing everything in the company, servicing these clients, and I was no longer passionate. And I just hit this wall where I was like, hey, is it going to be my money? Or is it going to be my peace? And so I
Hmm.
took 2 months off to learn how to actually systemize my business, to stop trading time for money. So if you're somebody who's at that burnout wall, you're stuck on the hamster wheel, you may be making some good money, profit margins are slim, but you're also stuck in the business and you feel like there's no way of getting out of it.
Hmm.
The flow method is for you.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, as you said, when they start a business, I mean, they end up doing everything themselves,
Yeah.
and getting so caught up in the business, as you said, that they lose the passion for why they started it in the first place because the reality grinds them down.
Yeah, and you get to a point where you're like, I don't like what I'm doing. You lose a sense of spiritual certainty
Hmm.
and confidence in yourself and the people that you're serving. And that's a horrible place to be
For sure.
because at any given time, you can lose everything overnight.
Yeah. So what's the first part of the flow method?
Yeah, so we want to live in flow, not fear. So F stands for focus. Majority of business owners are spread too thin. They're doing
Hmm.
95 things in their business. They don't know what the needle drivers are. So the first thing that we do is get really clear in your vision, your 3-year vision, reverse engineer that into a 1-year plan, then a 90-day action plan. And by doing so, we can then focus on simplifying your business model so that you can figure out the quickest most efficient way without burning out to grow to 7 figures.
Hmm.
And once you do that, we create something called your impact offer because the offer is king. The clearer you are in who you serve, what problem you solve for them, and you know how you're going to deliver it in a way that presents yourself as the
Hmm.
the blue ocean strategy we call it, right? As you probably read
Yeah.
that book,
Yeah.
blue ocean strategy, you position yourself as the expert. This is where now you can start to attract your ideal clients serve lots of them, get them really good results, and be paid your worth. A
Yeah.
fraction of the effort.
Yeah, no, I think focus is so incredibly important because especially if people are starting businesses or they're a small business. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes all revenue looks like good revenue because you just need
Yeah.
some income, and therefore you
Exactly.
tend to stray outside of your core, start to get, as you said, spread too thin. Then your whole like your ideal customer profile starts to get a bit
Get
vague. All of those
fuzzy.
things.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% with you. I think focus is so incredibly important, but it's something that a lot of people struggle with because when you focus on something, it means that you're unfocusing on these other things.
It means you have to say no to 9 out of 10 things
Yep.
so that the 80% driver you say yes to, you can exponentially grow it.
Mhm.
So, like, prime example in the company, we had about 4 different services, all different. One that was a done for you, then we had a done with you, and then we had basically a recruiting element of our business doing, sales here.
Mhm.
It looks like the emoji sign is popping up here. And then even fast forward to do it yourself. And we realized we were trying to sell this agency model of like recruiting sales reps and setters for your company and client success managers who were sales driven as well. And we're placing great talent into people's company, but the profit margin was low. It was high effort, very time consuming. And then when you place them into people's companies, they expect a lot more, like training,
Yep.
following up with that person. And if they're no longer working, you replace them. So the
Mhm.
level of effort behind doing that became more costly
Yep.
and less profitable than anything else. And
Mhm.
so we realized that service, even though it was great to have for our clients, we got rid of it
Yep.
because it was the least profitable in our company and it drove the most expense and time.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's always a good lesson. It's even like with the pipeline or CRM, like we're moved further and further up market. So we're kind of a mid market to larger
Yeah,
enterprise. So we don't focus on the smaller ones anymore because we're overkill. Plus, it's not the right fit. So I'm 100% on the focus. So what's the second
100%.
part of the flow method?
Yes. So the second part is leverage. So what we want to leverage is basically what we call systems.
Hmm.
Systems are the secret sauce. When
Yep.
I got back from this 2 months of a sabbatical, I knew I had to do something different. And so what we created was the triangle offense for our company. I don't know if you know much about Phil Jackson, but Phil Jackson, an incredible coach, right, for the Lakers,
Yeah.
Chicago
Yeah.
Bulls. Yeah, what made him unique was the triangle offense. He had a system that he could move from one organization to the next and ultimately win championship games, for, right? So he had Michael Jordan,
Sure.
Scottie Pippen, Dennis
Hmm.
Rodman, and then he had Shaq, right? Kobe, other great players. And he won a championship in both organizations. And so what I realized is that I needed two critical growth systems in my company or just two systems in general. One for growth, which was how do I find a lead
Yep.
and convert them into a paying client here. And then the second was my operation system,
Hmm.
which was more about how do I deliver a world-class value to my internal stakeholders and my external stakeholders, aka clients.
Hmm.
And when I created those two engines, it was a way to repeatedly get results. And so the first mistake I made with that is even though I'm getting amazing results, I was like, yes, it is time to delegate to a human being. And
Hmm.
so people come in, they do somewhat a good job,
Hmm.
but then all of a sudden something happens. They're doing a good job, they're getting results, but they're not producing a return on investment.
Yep.
And so what we look for when we hire people is a 5x return on investment. And if they're not producing that, they're actually not really producing. And so what
Yep.
ends up happening is you're paying a salary and now it's cutting your margins even slimmer.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
if
I
you
did that.
and
Yeah,
I was gonna
keep
say, if
going.
you haven't systematized like you're talking about, you're not going to be able to automate, you're not going to be able to leverage digital
Yes.
transformation, and as you said, you're not going to have the consistency to be able to, have other people looking after things if it's not properly systematized, automated, all of that, digital.
Yes, 100%. So instead of directly delegating to a person, try delegating to what we call literally AI and automation.
Yep.
And that's what we've done. It literally has built us an AI powered executive team where we have some of the best talent in the world, but it's very a small team, very small team,
Yep.
but it's AI powered and automation driven so that we can cut costs and get
Mhm.
repeatability
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
process.
And more accuracy, and
Accuracy.
work off the same data set and the flow of data, which is incredibly important. So, what's the O in flow?
Optimize. So,
Optimize. There you go.
yes. Yes, I've been in business, when I first got started, I would make decisions based on emotions.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, here's how I feel. This isn't working. So I'm just going to stop this and go on to the next thing. And so I found myself on a hamster wheel of just trying different things and getting action paralysis, the golden, calf syndrome, of where you try to get more and more
Mhm.
coaching to help you grow a business when you don't necessarily maybe need it, or maybe you do need it, but you keep learning the same thing over and over and not getting new results. And so I was driving myself nuts. And so I was making all emotional driven decisions until one day a coach told me was that you're making the wrong decisions because you don't know your numbers.
Mm.
And so in Optimize, the biggest element of this is understanding your numbers on an individual level for every hire,
Mhm.
understanding on a team level, and then knowing it on a company level. And so having dashboards to understand how your triangle offense is working
Mhm.
for growth and then for operations as
Yeah.
well.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's incredibly important because otherwise, sometimes we get a little lazy and we think, well, this seems to be working okay. I'll just leave it there. But if I
Yes.
actually went and focused on and optimized it, like you said, and looked at the process and made sure it's working properly, see if there are elements that we can consolidate or we can make, more efficient, then we get an outsized return from that. So optimization, I think, is incredibly important, but sometimes we ignore
Yes.
it because we think, oh, well, it's okay.
Right. Exactly. And we're like, it's okay. We don't need to know our numbers.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, everything's working okay. I'm surviving. And
Yeah.
we're not in business to survive.
Hmm.
We're in here to thrive.
Yeah.
We want to be able
Absolutely.
to have an asset that works for us. We don't work for that.
Yeah. And what's the W then?
All right, this is my personal favorite. This is about winning. And how
Winning.
we win is by maximizing profit.
Hmm.
So it's not about how much you make in business, it's about how much you keep.
Yep.
And so I was in this vanity concept of we're at, 150,000 in revenue, but we're not collecting that much. That was my first challenge.
Hmm.
And then you start collecting money, then you're like, I'm spending all this money to deliver. I'm not keeping much.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then you get to a point like, okay, I have too much complexity in the business. I have to learn how to keep money,
Yep.
because the number one metric that drives business in general is profit. And so the way we optimize profit is by understanding our personal budget and our business budget. And we build this business budget around the personal lifestyle we want to have. And then
Hmm.
once we have that, we learn how to invest. So one thing that I've learned throughout this process is how to buy businesses. So I recently, about a year and some change ago, bought a commercial building through, our coaching company, and we rent out to different business owners. And
Hmm.
so we have hairstylists, and then we have other business owners in this commercial building, and this was our first, form of acquisition. And it's been a profit lever that we can drive that covers all of our operating expenses
Right.
for our company, which is great. So now we
Hmm.
have the freedom to drive even more growth because we don't have to worry about bills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
there are a couple of things that unfortunately, undo a lot of people who start their own businesses or early businesses. Is one, like you said, is um, being so focused on the revenue side of it and not paying enough
Yes.
attention to the expense side of it, unnecessarily
Exactly.
spending money. And like you said, it's great. It's great to say, "Oh, look, we generated 150,000 in revenue. That's fantastic." But if only 50,000 of that is actually being paid,
That's a
then it's
problem.
great having, yeah, it's great having the 150, but 50 is all you have in your cash flow. And I think revenue versus, liquidity and cash flow, capital, that,
Mm.
that's always the one that often gets people, because especially if you're a small business, you think, oh, well, I put
Yeah.
my terms are 30 days. And you go, yeah, well, if you contract with a big company and you're a small company, guess what? Guess who's not getting paid in 30 days? It's you, because the big
Yeah.
company knows you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Exactly. So yeah, it's very tough, right? You go from this idea of, vanity metric of revenue
Yeah,
down to cash collected,
yeah,
then down to like profit. And
yep,
then eventually you learn the hard way every
yeah.
step of the process.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with you. I think
Yeah,
the only true measure of a business is the profitability, because then
exactly.
you have proved that you're selling something that people want, and
Come on.
you're able to
Yeah.
produce or deliver in a way that allows you to make money. So you know how to do that in a cost
Yes.
effective manner. For me, it's the only metrics that count.
100%. I had a mentor tell me the more you make other people rich, the more rich you'll become.
Yep.
And so that's a very good point. Is deliver a really good value to the people you serve and learn how to keep your own money.
Yeah, exactly. So when using
Yeah.
as you've advised other people with this flow method, what are some of the examples you've seen of changes to businesses?
Absolutely. So Leia is one of my personal favorite clients. She went from being in $50,000 a debt to making over 100,000 in cash collected, literally with three people on her team, her
Mm,
husband and a virtual assistant who serves as an appointment setter from the Philippines. She has a coaching company, absolutely crushing it in the health and wellness space, specifically helping women leaders in corporate America recover from burnout, recover from micromanaging leaders and
mm,
learning to become very certain and confident in their own leadership capabilities. And so she's an incredible example, right, of somebody who's gone from literally massive debt to learning how to build wealthier. Another
yeah.
example.
And by the way,
Oh yeah,
just
go ahead.
on that one, Isaiah, what I
Yeah,
like about what you
sure, sure.
described there is it's a very focused business, right? Down to granular, like it's
Yes,
women, I mean, it's a very focused, because
very
let's face it,
specific.
coaching you could get very broad if you're not careful.
Yes, you can get very broad, 100%. Yeah. Here's another example is, Yami. She's literally probably 25 years old, which is absolutely incredible. She went from never making any money in business. This was the first time she ever created a business to about 35,000 in profit per month with an e-commerce business. And what
Mm,
she learned was how to build a tribe of young women who wanted to learn more about their faith and ultimately wanted to learn how to be great mothers
mhm,
and wives to their husbands. And so she coached them while also selling digital products and physical products through her
right.
e-commerce store, which is cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, it's another example of, like you said, finding your ideal audience and going and being really
Exactly.
focused and going after that. So where do you see the future of your business going? Say,
Absolutely. So we're on a mission to help 10,000 business owners double their profit and work 20 less hours per week so that they can have, increased margins, avoid burnout, and never have to chase another prospect again in their life. And so the way we're going to do this is, I really envision, speaking on different stages
mm-hmm,
and sharing how people can have freedom throughout, building a scalable business with the flow method. And so we've actually written a book called The Faith Impact Freedom Method, how you can build a seven-figure business, whether it's a brick and mortar or, online coaching or any type of online business, and scale it to seven figures while doing the least amount of work. Right. I'm not going to say you're
right,
not going to work. You're going to
yeah,
have to work.
mm-hmm,
Like business is hard,
sure,
but the thing is, when you build systems, you can work less and have greater impact. So I want to get this book in front of 10,000 people. It is called The Faith Impact Freedom Method. It is currently $27 at this moment. The reason why it's 27, you get the digital book, you get the audio book, you get the workbook, and then it also comes with sales training that I give on how you can sell without
mhm,
being salesy. And this exact method, when one of our buyers purchased it for it was $5 at the time, he produced
right,
10,000 in sales
wow.
from this book and the trainings that came along with it within his first week. And so I encourage you for $27, you give up, a pizza and some coffee or a dinner and invest into yourself, and
Now
it
for
will
20
change your
now
life.
$27, it's probably like one Big Mac and a but
Yeah, a Big
given
Mac
the
is crazy
inflation.
now.
Yeah.
The chicken Big Mac now, right?
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
just nuts.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
listen, Isaiah, this has been fantastic. All of Isaiah's details will be below this video. But before we go, Isaiah, just one more time, tell people what you do and more about you.
absolutely. So, John, I just want to say thank you for having me here. So, I'm a business consultant. I help business owners like yourself, service-based business owners, whether you're a coach, a consultant, author, speaker, agency owner, or brick and mortar owner, 2x their profits while working 20 less hours per week so that you can avoid burnout, stop chasing, prospects, and also have, profitable margins in your company. And so I've been doing this for over 10 years. We've helped hundreds of clients and we've helped them produce over 100 million in sales in the last 10 years. So if you're looking for any type of help, start with grabbing the book for $27. The link will be below. And John, you're the man. Thank you for having me here. So
Yeah,
grateful.
listen, it's been a pleasure, Isaiah. So listen, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you all for watching, listening. I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.